DIY.
Rapper named Loon, first put out on the scene by Bad Boy Records and Diddy. After being in the music industry for the time that he has been in it, he had a very interesting story in which a lot of things happened to him that he only until now started to disclose. He now has a fresh perspective on not only just the industry, but on a lot of things that have been considered to just be general truths within hip hop. This idea of falling off and why he doesn't believe in artists falling off.
I wouldn't consider ever being a falling off, because the thing is, in this industry, in this business, you just one song away from being back on top, or you one song away from getting sent to voicemail. And the reality of it is, long as you have that opportunity to make that one joint, you never fell off.
That's real.
When you lose that opportunity and the resources and everything that contribute to that, in my eye, that's a falling off. Because people can show you respect and homage in your presence, but ain't nobody really trying to help you.
Yeah.
At that point, you're perceived as you fell off.
Big point here. Long as you have the opportunity. From how he's explaining it, falling off is a bit of an illusion to a lot of artists. I think it's even deeper than just the music, especially in this era of hip hop right now, in that when you're seeing rappers that are positioning themselves as media personality, when you see rappers with their own podcast, when you see them doing numbers in these podcasts and having another level of leverage that a hit song could not have given them, being able to bring any and everybody don't want to do a song with you in the industry, but everybody wants some kind of press within the industry for their project or the promotion. At least the labels that sign these artists, they for sure in the hell want it if it's the right one for them. Is there really ever a fall off?
Because the thing is, in this industry, in this business, you just one song away from being back on top, or you one song away from getting sent to voicemail.
This conversation of falling off is so important in hip hop because so much of your popularity, so much of your hip within the culture is how relevant you are to those that are the tastemakers, or those who are the buyers, or those who are the consumers within the culture. But that being said, he's saying as long as you have the opportunities that you had before, you never really have fallen off. And how many times have we seen an artist that we haven't heard from in quite some time just seem like they've just been very quietly ushered back into the conversation, into the mainstream conversation. They do a few interviews in a few platforms, have a controversial stance on some kind of topic, they get a little momentum and they run with it. As of recent, this person here brings up the rapper Gunna and how there is so much around his name, and I don't get into gossip, I don't get into the politics of things like that don't involve me, but there are people who were putting him in not such a positive light and labeling him as a quote unquote snitch. And they were saying that his career was going to be over with. And then, as you can see, if you've been paying attention to any of the music that has come out, there's a segment of the audience that I don't know if they were a part of hip hop in the 90s or the early 2000s. It's a part of the segment of hip hop that don't give a shit. They like what they like. If it hits, it hits. If it's the right tempo, the right production, they're concerned about the music in that.
When you lose that opportunity and the resources and everything that contribute to that, in my eye, that's a falling off.
You never really have an opportunity to fall off unless you make the choice not to produce at the level that you did. Or, as Loon just said, you don't have the same access that you once had to the resources that you once had.
Because people can show you respect and homage in your presence, but ain't nobody really trying to help you.
Yeah.
At that point, you're perceived as you fell off.
Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. You know who can't fall off?
DIY.
Which is why I push this so strongly. We're not, as DIYers, as independent artists, independent music producers, when you create your own ball court, when you create a sport and a pace in which you can play that sport, you can put up numbers anytime you want. When you have established that this is what success looks like for me, with the responsibilities that I currently have as a mom, as a dad, high school graduate, as a college attending student, as someone working a 9-to-5, when you are able to establish that, there is no falling off. That's one conversation that I'd never really hear, especially amongst the independent artists and the communities that I'm a part of, the shows that I do. I don't ever really hear about an independent artist falling off. I do hear about them disappearing, which could be for a multitude of reasons. It could be financially things got into a dark place, or it could be personally things that got into a dark place. But there's always the flexibility for them to make somewhat of a comeback. Not even comeback. There's always the opportunity, especially if they know how to navigate these internet streets. There's always an opportunity to refresh or even reframe the narrative around your name. But it seems beyond the general public turning on some of these names in mainstream hip hop, it's less about the general public saying, oh, they fell off, because these labels, these A&Rs, these marketers that are in charge of the packaging of an artist, let's include PRs in that as well. They know how to clean somebody up. They know how to make somebody look like something even when they don't have any emotion. But whether or not they want to do that for certain artists, well, then it comes down to relationships. Then it comes down to, what have you done for me lately? Then it comes down to, I can't be a resource to you because that sacrifices the relationship I have with this other person that you have issues with. I can't imagine what it might have been for a Loon when the person that you were reporting to in a Diddy. I can't imagine the ripple effect of how that affects relationships you once had when you're no longer working with that entity. I've seen it firsthand. When I tell someone no, it closes doors that I didn't even know would be closed. And then I had to figure it out on my own. But I think that's the beauty of independence. When you establish that you are not playing by those rules, that those metrics do not determine what success looks like for you. When you're able to redefine that, it's not that you're living in a bubble or that you're being delusional. It's that you recognize that with the resources you currently have, this is what can be done. But you also see the space for growth, the opportunity to advance, the opportunity to evolve what you have going on, and you don't make any excuses for what it is. That's what, to me, the DIY spirit is all about. But I think that many people, they don't evolve because they don't even see that that opportunity is there. They don't see the freedom. The freedom feels like restraints. The freedom feels like slept on. The freedom feels like nobody cares. That's where I feel like folks like myself who create this kind of content, it is my responsibility to remind you, you're not in competition with them. You're not in competition with this idea of falling off. If you want to take a break, take your break. But whatever decision making that you have to make right now as you're currently pursuing your music, it's going to be the same decision making or steps that you're going to have to make when you come back. Your art needs you to be at your best to create the best art possible. And I think that when we finally separate ourselves from that, I think that we put ourselves in a position where we can be our best. Don't be afraid of falling off. Because when you really dice it down, it's more of a mentality than it is a reality. Those are my thoughts, though. What do you guys think? DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.